Hey everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm playing in the Tier 10 French wheeled light tank. It is the EBR 105. We're fighting it out on mines and we're in a very nice matchup here. Well actually, when I think about it, not so nice. When I'm playing in my light tanks, I love to have artillery supporting me, and I also like to hunt artillery on the enemy team. But at least we're going to be fighting out against Tier 8s, and when you've got possibly the worst penetration on any Tier 10 tank with 190 on your standard rounds and 240 on your premium rounds, yeah, in these kind of matchups your EBR can be a little bit stronger. Alright, so immediately a disaster here on mines. The enemy team are focusing on going up on the hill. So it looks like a lot of people would panic here and possibly think, oh, it's over, I'll just try and get a couple shots into the leopard while I die. Instead, why don't we just actually try and escape? And the only person who manages to hit me is the Carnarvon Action 10 on my team. Although how could he predict that we were going to make such an evasive maneuver there and drive out right between him and the plethora of vehicles that are in the center of the map? And immediately, a vehicle like this, something that is this fast, so you could probably do that with some of your other Tier 10 light tanks as well. Maybe not a Sheridan, but really, what option do I have? Now that Wargaming have changed the way that the hills work and the slopes work on mines, there's no real safe way to get off it. Sure, if you do absolutely utterly have to try and get off one of the slopes, if you do put your tank sideways and you kind of slide down it and land on your wheels rather than on a part of your vehicle, or on your tracks I should say, then you will at least absorb a lot of the punishment that you would have taken. But since the mines is now pretty much just a plateau where there's only really one way on it and off it, at least if you don't want to lose your hit points, you do have to make more risky maneuvers to be able to escape if you know that you're going to be outnumbered there in your light tanks. Alright, so not the best of starts for our team here. I really think that the team that takes the hill usually puts the pressure up on mines, and especially if you're in vehicles with good gun depression, like the Leopard on the enemy team or even the UDES 16, those vehicles are going to be absolutely monstrous up there. However, I'm quite happy that I managed to dig out the enemy's Tier 10 light tank, which means that there are no more light tanks in this battle, so I should have the best camo rating. Now, I'm not going to have the best view range, even though I have this vehicle fully tricked down. I've got Brothers in Arms, I've got Situational Awareness, I've got Recon. I liked this vehicle so much, or at least I knew that this vehicle was going to be so crew skill reliant, that I actually put the Santa Claus that we all got given, or did we get them from loot boxes? I think the Santa Claus was actually from loot boxes, maybe not. I'm not 100% certain about that. I did open up 200 of them because they were given to me, and then as you'll know if you watch those videos, I donated £500 to cancer research and special effect to try and keep it as non-pay to win as possible, because if somebody's going to pay to win, I'd rather pay my money to charity than to advertise gambling, right? Alright, so anyway, back on focus, and that is that I put Santa Claus in this vehicle, and he actually gets 2 skill slots for free, which is pretty much outrageous. So he can be the most skilled crew member in World of Tanks by far and above. I would actually really like to have him in the Chimera, if that's going to be coming out in any kind of... No, it's not, sorry, the Chimera. What am I talking about? The... Bloody hell, what's it called? The Manticore. There's too many fabled... What's up with British people in taking mystical beasts and trying to name things after them, right? Okay, so yeah, the Manticore, the Tier 10 British light tank, which at the moment... That's one of the reasons why I haven't actually released any videos this week. I was truly hoping that Wargaming were going to either react to the strong feedback that the community had delivered them last week to make some changes on the 1.6 test server to hopefully the Manticore to see if it's actually going to be worth playing. Now, I've been trying to update my test server. There's been no updates that I've been able to find. I know that Wargaming are trialing some kind of new Frontline consumable where you're possibly going to be able to get double your speed through the Frontline game mode. Now that would be absolutely amazing for me, because that's another reason why I've been a little bit unmotivated to make videos on World of Tanks, and that's because my game time inside World of Tanks has been possibly the most unfun it's ever been. Frontline is something where Wargaming have managed to sap all of the fun out of by requiring you to play for about 10 to 20 hours each week. And whenever I get forced to do something that has become very stale, because frankly it's the same tier, it's the same map, we're not going to even be getting the reward for it until kind of like 10 episodes into the Frontline series, unless it's, or episode 10 of the Frontline series, unless of course you've advanced a couple of Frontline prestiges ahead. If you're absolutely mad like that, it just feels absolutely brutal. I'm really looking forward to Frontline ending today, so I don't have to invest any more time into it, and I'm just praying that Wargaming are going to put out those consumables, which they're currently testing on, I think, the Asia Common Test server, even though they put it up on the EU website. It's all very confusing, and I haven't even managed to keep up with it. But at least there's hope at the end of the tunnel that possibly we might not be investing so much time to complete the last few episodes of Frontline. But it might not happen. I truly hope it does. Wargaming, please do something to make Frontline a little bit more entertaining, or alternatively just do something to allow us to grind through it a little bit quicker until you have a chance to introduce those new maps which you highlighted to us a couple of months ago that we've been waiting a long time for now to try and make it an interesting game mode. Alright, so back to what I was talking about, and that was that I was kind of hoping that I was going to feature the Manticore in its buffed form on the channel, but that hasn't happened, and so I was kind of twiddling my thumbs and waiting, and I just didn't feel like it. I know that's such a lame reason, and don't worry, this week I'll make it up to you. I'll get out as many videos as I possibly can on hopefully relevant, interesting topics. Alright, so back to the EBR. So this game is kind of neck and neck at the moment. The enemies are ahead by 2 tanks, and as I mentioned earlier on, it's all about controlling the central position. If you control the center of mines, then you pretty much extend your view range out to the whole of the rest of the map. And that's why it was such a heavy heart that I left the center of mines early on in the game. And one of the things they actually said to my team at the start is, it's QB. Now I asked them who was going up onto the hill on mines, because it's just such an important location to take. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like anyone answered my call. Alright, so we're fighting against a UDES here, and I knew that he was going to try and fire quick. Or fire without entering the siege mode, which is why I went and just hard turned right in front of him to give him the least possible chance to react, and that in fact allows me to dodge his shell, and then it looks like he enters the siege mode to try and turn around there to be able to have the gun depression to work over the ridge lines or to work with the undulations on the hill. But thankfully we shut him down before he manages to hit us, and this is really the stage of the game where you need to start taking risks as a player. You're not going to win the game by just sitting there and hoping that the enemies play worse than you. While that will win some of your games, it's not really going to increase your win ratio. You're never going to be able to push your win ratio up above 50%, up above 55%. This is the stage of the game where you can make or break it and possibly carry your team to victory. Alright, so we put 2 rounds there into the Emil. He can't spot us through the bushes. Luckily, he's not in any bushes, so he can't manage to avoid our view range. And I'm just wondering what this UDES 14-5 is doing underneath me. I guess he's working his way round, and considering all of the enemies have been spotted, now the UDES is no longer sitting at the back of the map, it's looking like it could be pretty okay. Hopefully the UDES will be able to distract the Emil. I'm just hoping the Emil will push forwards and look for the UDES underneath him. But in fact, the Emil responds by retreating. So I'm thinking, shall I make my way down the northern flank and try and get to the side of the Emil? I think that's too risky. I think if I do that, then possibly the Chrysler K or possibly the T44 or the UDES or anyone might manage to isolate me. And unfortunately, the Chrysler K is doing exactly that. He works his way down towards the UDES, and we're not going to be able to work together anymore because, yeah, the T44 went. So if I'd ended up in this location, it was almost certain demise. Luckily, it looks like the UDES has actually provided a distraction for the UDES 16 to be able to finish off the Type 4 Heavy. The accuracy on this vehicle, 0.38, definitely not the best. That means that we're unable to hit the side of an M103 from this distance, and I'm hoping that he goes forwards, but he's actually crushed into the building there, or crashed into the building, I should say. Unable to crush it, because that's quite a large one. It'd be very impressive if you could crush down buildings of that size in World of Tanks. Alright, so now we're in a 3 versus 6 situation. It's time to be aggressive. It's time to let the chips fall where they may. And that is that I thought that I could catch the M103 napping. And that's exactly what we managed to do. You could do that in any of your light tanks. You could do that in any of your medium tanks. In fact, you could do that in some of your heavies as well, if you did manage to get up a little bit of speed. But nothing better than a French-wheeled light tank for managing to try and flank your opponents aggressively in close quarters combat. Alright, so I'm wondering if my sixth sense is going to go off now. Am I managing to hide as I go up here? Alright, so there's the UDES 16 on top of the hill. Got to watch out for that. And the Chrysler K is making his way into position to try and take on our IS-3A. Now, I asked the IS-3A to fall back. You can see I ping the map. I'm asking him to get as far away from these 2 tanks as he possibly can. Unfortunately, the Chrysler comes around the corner very aggressively, and so we get spotted. I wasn't hoping that the enemies would know where I am, But really, it doesn't mean too much, as they're very focused on taking out the Tier 8 Soviet autoloader in front of them, rather than focusing on me. And that leaves us in a 1 versus 5 situation where we are a one-shot for all of the enemy team, now that we finish off the T-44, who had the lowest of calibers of guns. Alright, so the Chrysler K making his way up towards me, and I just want to hang here for a second. I just want to hang here, because I want him to think, and I want the enemy to think, that I'm still in that bush. As soon as I know that I'm no longer spotted, I'm going to waltz my way away from the Chrysler, and luckily we find the Emil out in the open, and I have to stop to take a shot at him. And I don't even get spotted. The enemies must think then, to all intents and purposes, that I'm still in the bushes where the Chrysler K is. And so that means they're all going to be making their way towards that location. Hopefully I'm creating some confusion with the enemy, and I get to apply some pressure to them. Alright, so I've got 4 heat rounds left, and then I've got 9 high explosive rounds on this tank. Now the high explosive rounds on this vehicle have 105mm of penetration, do 500 damage, while the heat rounds have 240mm of penetration, and they do 390 damage. And so this is a bit of a sticky situation, and there's lots of hit points left on the enemy team. Now I don't want to blind fire one of my 4 remaining heat rounds. I'm going to fire a heat round into the back of the 50 TP, and I get really lucky there that it rolls high for 441. That was a plus 10, plus 15% damage roll. And that means that I've now got 3 heat rounds left, but I'm loading a high explosive round to try and finish off the UDES, and hopefully I'll be able to finish him off in a single shot. Awesome stuff there. Of course, 105mm through the side of a Swedish medium tank with that 500 alpha, rolls true, 467 damage dealt, which is way below the 500 that I could have rolled for to be able to finish him off. And that was a very important decision, because that now means that I've got 3 rounds left to go after the Chrysler K. So I thought about going in towards the cap circle there. I thought maybe I should try and pressure the enemy cap circle, because then I can force the Chrysler K to come towards me, and he might not even be able to drive that entire distance in 1 minute and 40 seconds, although this is a very small map. Alright, so the Chrysler K, we don't need to be a genius to work out where he is, but I guess we need to have some experience in our approach to figure out how we're going to manage to catch a glimpse of him. Now, I would expect that the Chrysler K would be on this location here, and either facing towards me or facing towards the north around this part of the map. Because obviously, he wants to see if he can get a shot into us, but luckily we managed to spot him and we put a round into him immediately. He is not an idiot, however. This Chrysler K looks like they're an experienced player, as they immediately turn towards the left. They know where that shell came from, and he's making it directly towards us. We now have 2 minutes and 44 seconds left on this game, and as long as I penetrate my next 2 heat rounds, I should be able to shut down this Tier 8 premium American heavy tank. So I'm thinking, shall I go into those bushes? Shall I try and find the Chrysler K? Right now, I've got the advantage of him being a heavy tank, and he's got very bad camo rating. And so I should be able to spot him wherever he goes. But his advantage is that he's pretty much got the same rate of fire as me, but he is not a one-shot, and I am. And he's probably got pretty damn good gun handling on the Chrysler K as well that we're going to have to watch out for. Alright, so, making our way here. Hopefully, I was really expecting to find the Chrysler K. Where is he? Now with 2 minutes left on the game, I realise that if I want to cap, because he might be making his way back towards the cap circle, that I need to cap 10 seconds before he does, with 1 minute and 40 seconds left on the game. So I will be able to get into the cap circle in time. Oh my lord, Wargaming still, please fix those sound effects of when wheeled vehicles go over rubble. Alright. This game, it's too close to call. I have to admit, this was a very tense one. My heart was almost up in my throat at this point. It was pounding away, and I was feeling a little bit nervous, but not too nervous. I mean, come on. Oh, it's just a Kolobanov's medal at tier 10. I'm just sitting on 7,500 damage in a light tank on a close quarters map where you're really not meant to have dealt this kind of damage, right? Okay, let's get back on target. Let's focus on what I was thinking at this time. And that is that there's only 2 real ways that the Chrysler can come towards us, or 3 ways. One is that he could make his way through here, and if he goes through that bush, then I'm going to be able to spot him. Secondly, is if he makes his way up over onto this location. If he does that, I'll spot him out in the open as well. And if the guy comes around this corner, he'll probably think that I'm in the cap circle, but he's on my right. I react a little bit slowly, but it doesn't matter because the bush is giving me some concealment here. I'm going to have to go forwards very aggressively because there's no way I'm going to be able to cap in time. I'm going to fire one at his lower plate, but oh, a disaster. It hits his track. Now I've got to try and avoid his shell. I jink to the left. I jink to the right. For some reason, I'm not inside the speed mode right now, and oh dear goodness, misplay by me at the end of the game, ladies and gents. But with only 28 seconds left on the game, considering that heat round didn't manage to go into his lower plate, looks like I must have just jinked my mouse towards the right so it entered his tracks. I wasn't really going to be able to reload the heat round to be able to penetrate him, and then multiple high explosive rounds to finish him off. This was an absolute heartbreak for me. The one position that the Chrysler came, which was via this way, was the only way that I wouldn't be able to spot him until it was too late to be able to evade him. I was hoping that I was going to find him here. I was going to fire one and then hotshot my way through the bushes as quickly as I could. I was hoping he was going to make his way up into this bush. I was going to shoot him and then make my way here. The only way that this guy could have possibly come was this way in towards the cap circle to be able to catch me in close quarters combat and shut me down. There were 4 different ways that tank could have come, and he chose the one way, which was the best way to be able to close the distance and to be able to finish me off. So GG, well played to the Chrysler. So even though this was a bit of a heartbreak, we still get an ace tanker for a defeat here in the EBR, and that's because we get a high caliber medal, a tank sniper medal for dealing the most damage at long distance, and a top gun as well for our 6 kills. This was 872 base, for which we add 481 base for courageous resistance, securing an ace tanker in a vehicle, which is quite hard to be able to do so. I mean, 7,500 damage might be the highest that I've ever done in a light tank, and considering it was on a close quarters brawling map, I can't be too sad about the result, but looks like I pushed my luck a little bit too far. To be honest, when you're in these situations where you've got no health in a 1 versus 5 situation, in a light tank against enemies that are not one-shots, you're pretty much just rolling the dice each time. It looks like I just ran on our 6s towards the end of this replay. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that's it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you did, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released on Sunday, it's time for another World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. This week, I'm going to feature the UDES 15/16 because it's never been featured on my channel, and it's currently top of the tree, or on track as the Americans like to call it. And so come along right now to see if the Swedish medium tanks are a line that's worth grinding, or alternatively, if you already have the vehicles, maybe you can pick up a few tips and tricks along the way. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing as many of you as possible right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. As always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.